Hi, welcome back to my garden. It's kind of a chilly morning here on the island, but we have a bunch of things flowering in the garden, so I wanted to show them off. The first one is this one here. I think it's a pink dawn viburnum. I didn't actually plant it, it's a pretty mature one. It's like, I don't know, at least 10 or 12 feet tall. It's kind of hard to say, but yeah, at least 4 feet taller than I am. And it has these amazing, amazing, cute little pink flowers. I'll show some close-ups because you can like really appreciate it up close. But one thing that's awesome about this one is that it grows its all the little buds, and then they open kind of like a few at a time. On some of them, they're like pretty open, like most of them. But anyway, they open a few at a time, so if we do have like a frost or something, I think it only kills the open ones, and then the buds are there ready to take over, so it ends up blooming for a pretty long period of time. We've had a pretty mild winter so far, except for one cold spell, but kind of outside of that, it just seems like really happy and it's just blooming away. And although it doesn't have a really strong scent, it does have just like, the scent is kind of just like a little bit sweet and that's it. But I feel like I've so missed smelling that kind of smell in the garden that it just like, it smells like the best thing like this time of year. This one is, like I said, it was here when I moved in, but I have actually planted a few other ones just because they're so amazing and they bloom at a time that nothing else is really blooming. The ones that I've planted myself, from what I read, they need some moisture, like not an excessive amount, especially when they're young. I think once they get older, they're more drought tolerant, like most things. But yeah, and then really good sunshine. So here it gets like, I would say this is like a part sun situation, but it seems fine for it. And this time of year, it's full sun because everything else is bare. So yeah, and then propagation wise, they're pretty easy to propagate. I'm planning a video soon on propagating a bunch of different shrubs, including this one. So I'll post more details then. But yeah, this is the number one on the list just because it's like so amazing. Okay, next is Snowdrops, and these are probably the first ones to bloom for us. It's still early in the morning, so they're closed, but once they open up, they have the prettiest green markings, and it's just like this like really vibrant green that you don't really get this time of year. And they're just so like dainty and cute. I heard that they'll often like stay closed until the temperature hits about 11 degrees, and then they can open because that's when like the first pollinators are out, apparently. At least probably where they're native to. But yeah, they're really chilled. They do kind of spread everywhere, but I don't think they really compete with anything because nothing else is out this time of year. So I think that's kind of cool. But yeah, anyway, they're super cute. And then they kind of volunteer. So these are all just like babies that have grown. I think they volunteer both by seed and also by like division. So you can easily dig up a clump and kind of start a new colony somewhere else, which is pretty fun too. And they just look like cute under whatever they're under, like in front of the fence. Or this is our native Mahonia. And you can see this one has its buds on too, but I think that would be maybe a late February blooming one, or maybe even March. Anyway, okay, on to the next one. Okay, I'm here in the hummingbird garden now, and the next one on the list, even though there's a few snowdrops here too, is these dwarf irises. And like, there's something about irises that I just like love, like all forms of them. I guess except for the yellow flag iris, but only because it's super invasive here and really annoying to deal with on the property. But generally, I do love them all. And these ones are just like, they come out last year, the same patch, which was, I don't know, there were fewer, they kind of double every year. They came out and there was snow on the ground. And it was just these like pale yellow flowers popping up above the snow. And these ones, like this year, there's no snow, but they just look so cute. And something about like, I don't know, just like the tone, the little markings that they have, the way the dew is captured on them. Anyway, one of my favorites. These ones are the first ones up. I also have some pale blue ones and some kind of maroon ones, but because I planted them this year, I think those will come up just like a little bit later. These ones probably had a head start from being in the ground already. But yeah, dwarf irises are amazing. And actually I have some family that lives in Greece, and on one of the mountains there, they often find like this kind of dwarf iris. I think this one's like a hybrid, but maybe one of the parents is like a Southern European one. But it's awesome just to see them in their natural habitat. They bloom like throughout the winter on kind of like alpine type situations. So yeah, pretty awesome. Okay, and next. Okay, I'm crouching here in the bulb lawn. We call it Bob, and we planted it last year when our niece was visiting. We have a bunch of different things in here, but the first ones to come up are these little crocuses. And again, it's kind of early and it was a little frosty last night, so they don't look the happiest this morning, but I think they'll recover pretty well. These ones are just like one of the first ones to come up as well. I would say right after the snowdrops maybe, but kind of around the same time. And we have, I think, a couple hundred in here. So there's maybe a few dozen that have popped up and are blooming or getting ready to bloom, but there should be kind of a bunch more. I'll do a video on this area at some point because we've planted it with bulbs so that it blooms pretty much from February to May, like nonstop, and then we mow it like after. So anyway, excited to see what comes up here next. But these are the first ones. And actually the first bumblebees that I see around the garden are almost always on these ones. So that's kind of cool too. Okay, next is the witch hazel, and it just has like super delicate, like dainty little flowers all along the stems. I love the contrast of it up against the black fence. I feel like when you look up at the sky, you can't always really see the color very well, so it's nice to have something kind of behind it so that it can contrast. And these ones too, like the smell on this variety is super faint, but it just has like just enough to make you, it's like a hint of like floral in witch hazel. So it's like, yeah, I don't know, just enough to get you a little excited, but not like anything to write home about, no offense. But yeah, I did a video recently on like pruning it and kind of helping make the plant like a little more vase shaped, a little more upright. So I'm really liking how it looks. And part of that was also to bring the flowers a little further down. So yeah, anyway, it's a pretty cool one. Okay, and then for an honorable mention, it's gonna be this hellebore. They weren't quite open when I filmed, and then last night with the light frost, they've kind of flopped a little bit, but as soon as it warms up a little bit today, these will just perk right back up. They kind of like, I don't know, refill themselves. And as these start to swell more, as it gets closer to blooming, they'll get like even taller. So that's pretty awesome. And one of the cool things about these flowers is they last forever on the plant, like easily a couple of months, and they'll still look good after. And some of the white varieties, like they'll turn up almost like a pale green, kind of like hydrangeas do sometimes. Anyway, and these ones here, this one's starting to open. I don't know if you'll be able to see from there, but it has like, I don't know, you can see it's like filled with like pollen and stuff. So I think anybody who's around will enjoy that one. And because they'll be around for a couple of months, like, yeah, I don't know, they're pretty awesome. Well, thanks for coming on a little tour of the 5 favorite February flowers. And it's kind of that time of the year where it's like the coldest, darkest month is kind of past, and now things are starting to build momentum a little bit, especially as like the days get a little longer and warmer, kind of things start to happen faster. And like just over the past couple weeks, like in addition to all the flowers I showed you today, like so many other things are starting to come up. Like right next to me here, I have a little patch of daffodils and I can see the first flower spear appearing, so that should be blooming pretty soon as well. So anyway, I'll keep you posted, and thanks for coming along.